Hello, and welcome to the August 23rd weekly JupyterLab call. Today we have 11 people on the call, and we have an agenda that has 3 people's worth of items. So if you would like to add to the agenda, today's your day. I already made my entreaty before, but since my name is at the top of the agenda, I will say it again for posterity reasons. And Gabriel has pasted the agenda in the chat. Thank you very much. So yes, I listed a number of dates followed by YouTube videos. These are the dates of previous JupyterLab weekly calls, and they are available on YouTube. And I would like to link them to the relevant actual dates that they happened in the archives of our Team Compass. And I asked for help, but if it is not done next week, I will surely do it myself anyway. So don't worry, people of posterity. By the time you hear this, I am sure the task will be done. And that's all for me. And the next person up today is Eric G.
Hey, so okay, so the first item I have is that the extension tutorial is broken. So one of the first things I did as a lab developer maybe 6 months ago was fix the broken extension tutorial. So it is broken again now, and basically I think we just need to stop breaking the docs. So it's bad if someone's first step into Jupyter development is a broken tutorial and one of the first steps in a broken tutorial. And maybe that person just leaves. So, like if we care about users and we want them to join the Jupyter ecosystem, I mean, to me, we need to ensure that basic issues like this are not happening. And like more broadly, I think this is one of several areas where we need to prioritize the user's experience in the Jupyter ecosystem. And this goes not just for docs, but for other areas as well. So like how easy is it to submit a PR or submit work? How easy is it to write an extension, et cetera. But that kind of leads me into my next point, which is making a docs sub-project for Jupyter. Because to my knowledge, we don't have one, right?
There is no Jupyter project for documentation, no.
Yeah, so I think like I think we need a Jupyter project-wide docs sub-project. So like a group that is responsible for making sure that taking care of the docs across, notebook and lab and server and all the other projects. So I've done a lot of docs work and I've done a little bit of work toward making things consistent, but I mean, I think for how important this is, for how big an impact it has in terms of people being able to use the software, use it correctly, and have a good experience, like this is something I think would be really good too. It would be really good to have something in the governance and have a structure for this where we have people regularly looking at this. So I mean, obviously the focuses could be authoring, writing docs. It could be kind of connecting people to information because like we have a lot of people asking questions in a lot of places, and a lot of those people don't necessarily know where to get their information or where to get help or how to get help or who to talk to. And then kind of also gathering feedback from users about what needs to be documented and what they're trying to find. So I guess those are kind of to me like maybe these could be pillars for this group, kind of making content, discovery and/or community connection to get people the information they need, and then feedback about what people are looking for. And I think like there's some good first targets for this. I mean, I think just characterizing the doc's needs, so like what new content needs to be written and what needs to be updated and improved. I think that alone is a big and important task. Another thing could be uh, it, other stuff. So like not strictly just docs authoring, but for instance, from what I understand, Read the Docs has metrics about which pages have the most views. So that could be a very easy way for us, at least in a rough level, to get some sense of what pages people are visiting and what's important to people. So to my understanding, and maybe someone can check this on the call, but you need admin rights to the Read the Docs page. But from what I understand, there's a tab you can go to get a CSV of the last 90 days of page views. And like a simple first target could be either manual, just putting this in a repository somewhere so we have access to these traffic statistics from Read the Docs. And we could set up a CI job for pulling this down, maybe, for instance. So that's kind of a not strictly docs, but metrics. That could be another target. We can add tests and tooling so that like this error, and yes, I think Mike put in the HackMD. Yes, that is the actual I'm talking about, Mike. And this is because of the copier change. But we could add tests so that this command is run in the CI to make sure that it doesn't return non-zero. And that's another easy docs low-hanging fruit where we could improve the experience. I've talked in other calls about like a get help effort so that we are consistently documenting on all the sub-project sites how do people get help and all the resources that are available, because it's kind of in different formats and kind of really scattershot on all the sub-projects right now. And another one that we just talked about in the previous meeting, because a couple of us hung around, was document this homebrew problem for users to make sure that they're not having issues with homebrew that we're seeing. So I think the needs kind of go on and on and on. But yeah, I guess I kind of wanted to see what people thought about that and yeah, gather some, maybe gather some information about how to get the ball rolling on that, possibly. Anybody have anything? Any thoughts? Anyone?
I am a huge fan of this. Thank you so much for taking the lead on this, of like looking at the tutorials, looking at our documentation. This is something, it's been nearly 2 years since I joined Project Jupyter. And so I worked through those tutorials and I ran into problems. I think some of the first PRs I did were updating documentation.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
And so I really appreciate you taking the lead on this. This is unpopular, unglamorous stuff
Yeah.
that I think is very important to get new people on board.
Yeah.
So I see Carlos has his hand up.
You are muted still.
Right. I will never get used to that, I guess. I like very much the idea. I would actually. So my hand is raised because I would certainly like to participate on that. I think by the way that we should use Jupyter Book for that, so we could feedback that project. I have recently, in the last 2 weeks, started playing with that and Jupyter Cache, and doing a workflow that goes beyond the default. And there are many things that can be improved there, but nevertheless, is definitely a place that I would suggest to use. So
for the recording, Jupyter Book I think is a local docs viewer. Is that right? In Jupyter, so you can.
Book, yes, you compile basically your documentation using either Jupyter Markdown or MIST Markdown documents, And yeah, and that's it. Then you
Okay.
compile and you publish that. You can make the workflow to automatically publish in GitHub pages, for instance.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Thanks.
So I think
just sorry, Darian, just one thing that the reason, at least the workflow that I'm doing, is both to have the documentation of our science stuff that we do here in the group, and but also to test the containers that I do on top of Jupyter Docker stacks. And then I use that both ways, right? To generate the content, the notebooks, and also to test the containers, for instance, or libraries that we develop and use in our notebooks, which I think it's part of the situation here, as far as I understand, right? So how to set up, how to put an extension, how to do this kind of stuff. That's the idea.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of docs. I think where Eric began is the extension authoring docs, though, and I'm not very convinced that Jupyter Book is a right venue for that necessarily.
I think it could be. I think it's one. I think it just, to me, is a way of delivering. I think we already have our hosted on Read the Docs. I mean, I think it could be a target. I think it's just a way of delivering. It's already there.
Yeah, no, I understand. So, but regardless, I think if you're looking for practical next steps, go to a bunch of calls, put out this call that you just did here. Before this call is over, make an issue on some sub-projects Team Compass. It could be Jupyter Labs if you want. It could be notebooks if you want. Just so you have a place to send people to and ask people who's interested in working on a working group like this with me. And then if it turns out there's a group of people who want to do it, then, you know, we can put making a sub-project or a working group or something to a vote, right? But let's find out if people want to do it. Let's see if there's you know, like an ancillary time you can find to host an initial conversation with some people, or at least a place, you know, an issue where that conversation can coalesce and follow up.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, Eric. Does anyone else want to say anything before we move on? Okay. Then Gabriel, you are up.
Hello. Yeah, just real quick here. I put a call out for times that would be good for people to do some brainstorming around keyboard UX in JupyterLab. It seems like for most people that was next week after this meeting. Jason already helped me out and put it on the calendar, so it's there, and I will continue to advertise it and try to get people in and hopefully have a productive session. That's all. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. That is, well, this is not the time. So yes. All right. Does anyone want to say anything on the record, or shall I stop the recording? Okay, I will stop the recording. Brace yourselves.